What's the purpose of the Leadership Summit 2005? You'll find out coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning with the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on Leadership Summit 2005, and we're visiting with the local promotion and marketing strategist, Grant Kuhn. Good morning, Grant.
Good morning. Good to see you, Greg.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Appreciate it very much, giving me the opportunity to be here with you.
Not often do I have someone sitting on the set that's taller than I am. Obviously, viewers can't tell that's us sitting here at the on the set, but it's exciting to see a big guy.
Well, thank you. I've been this way a long time.
It's happened over the years. That's right. And this Leadership Summit 2005, you are getting juice. It's getting close.
It is real close. We're only 3 weeks out.
Right.
And we're on our last push to make the community aware of this great opportunity.
August 11th is coming up. When we think about any event that's 2.5 days, folks think, how can I get through something for 2.5 days? But this is something where folks are dying to get to the next day. They're not dying to get to the next speaker. And to think how long the Leadership Summit's been going on.
10 years. This will be the 10th year.
Wow, a big celebration. I think I saw it's going to be worldwide this year as well.
Yes, it's in North America. There'll be almost 110 satellite locations. The actual event emanating from Barrington, Illinois, just outside of Chicago.
Real quick about yourself, Grant. Are you originally from the area?
Originally for the last 26 years.
Oh, God, wow. You're a dang local then.
I would say I'm a local as you can get without having been born here.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a guest on early in the week, Alan Powell, who was born here and has been here, I think he said 39 years now. And to hear him talk about Ocean Boulevard when he would travel north of 15th Avenue, the landmark was there, and then nothing else past that, no hotels or otherwise.
Oh, yeah. Alan and I, in fact, worked together in one of the hotels I managed.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's
very exciting to hear him talk on Monday. He was very interested. But, of course, to think about being here for 26 years, you've seen a lot of changes over
Absolutely.
that time.
Sure have.
What brought you here, Grant?
Well, I think when I look back at it now, I know it was the lifestyle. It was wanting to work where I wanted to work and not where the big hotel company that I worked for prior to that wanted to send me.
Right.
And I had it in my mind for a long time that I would like to work in a resort area, be on the ocean, not be in such a large place that it was not comfortable. So I found the right place, and after I'd been here a few months, I knew I was going to spend the rest of my life here.
Grant, do you remember some of the other places you were thinking about at the time? Because you were obviously in a position, 12 years with the company, you could make a decision as to where you wanted to settle down.
Well, I was looking at the east coast of Florida.
Right.
In fact, I worked on the east and west coast of Florida before coming here. And but then the uniqueness of the Myrtle Beach area, the weather pattern not being like Florida, having seasons, the variety of things to do that I didn't find in other places, was a great encouragement for me to stay here. And then I got involved in the community and involved in a lot of different things, which really tied me to the community.
Right.
I had no desire to leave.
Oh, yeah, and I think during that 26 years here, I think I saw you opened and operated for a while your own restaurant.
Correct.
That must have been exciting.
Yeah, we had one for 15 years, and that was a part of my life I thoroughly enjoyed, and it's a part of my life I'm glad it's over, too.
What's that like, owning and operating a restaurant, Grant?
It's a lot. It takes a lot of time.
Golly.
My wife, Carol, and I were both involved in it, and as a good friend of mine once told me, he says, don't ever own an enterprise that you don't at least drive by once a day and get involved in. And so she or I would spend time in the restaurant each day, and that was parallel to other things I was doing at the time. Sure.
That's exciting. I think I saw over your tenure here also you'd served in a capacity. One of our guests last week on the show, Wayne Gray, has a similar capacity now as chairman of the board of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. Another big time-consuming volunteer activity to get involved in.
Very much so.
What was that like?
That was probably the most enjoyable part of my life here in terms of being involved with the business community and having a volunteer capacity working to improve the business climate And I basically joined the chamber shortly after I arrived, and just got involved in chamber work and convention bureau work, and was very much gratified with all of the involvement, and felt very comfortable doing what was required.
That's exciting. Great.
It was. It really was.
And of course, more recently as the administrator at Christ United Methodist Church, and now obviously in that capacity, opening the doors here to really be involved with this strategic event coming up on August 11th.
Yes, people sometimes get a calling, and they may have done something all of their life that they've enjoyed or not enjoyed, but then every now and then people get a calling that says, this is where you need to be. And that came about 3 years ago. And so I had the opportunity to join a very fast-growing and influential regional church called Christ United Methodist Church. And because of my background in business and community affairs, I was asked to head up the more or less the management of the church, in charge of physical facilities, overseeing finances, helping support the various ministries that go on in that church. And it's been a very gratifying experience for which I am most appreciative.
I bet. Golly, and you talk about a regional church. I mean, that's a big deal. This is, for viewers who may not be familiar, it's Christ United Methodist Church?
Yes, it's out at Fantasy Harbor, right across the street from Medieval Times Theater.
Okay.
Used to be the Gatlin Brothers Theater years ago.
Yeah.
And when I say regional church, is that we attract people that travel as far away as Columbia and Charleston and North Carolina that'll come to church here with us. But more so, it attracts people in Conway, Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island, Surfside Beach. So it's not just your neighborhood church, so to speak.
Now, is it similar other Methodist churches in the area? Is there, for instance, in the Presbyterian Church of America or PCUSA, different kind of sub-denominations within a denomination? Is the Christ United Methodist Church within a...
No, the United Methodist Church is one large denomination, and we are part of that. What might be considered as unique for us is that we have a diversity of constituency. We have several services in a week. Most churches have one. We have 3 on Sunday and 1 on Thursday nights. We attract at one service a group of traditionalists where we have the stained glass and the organ type music and the choir, and then another service will be more contemporary in nature, where we reach the younger set, perhaps 30s and 40s ages, 20s, 30s, and 40s. Then we have one we call Refuge that's on Thursday nights that reaches out to college age up through early 30s, which has a flavor of a little more upbeat, a rock band as opposed to a traditional type of music, but all with the same Christ-centered message, all with the same ultimate goal and objective of bringing people to Christ.
And all with the same pastor?
Presently with the same pastor. When I say presently, because we don't have anybody else to help him, he's basically preaches and teaches at all of the services.
His name is?
Jeff Dunn.
Jeff Dunn, right. He's been in the area a while.
He has. He's from Conway, grew up in Conway, and went to school elsewhere, and went to school at CCU here locally, but went to receive his divinity training elsewhere. But a very dynamic pastor and a real strong leader, and who, by the way, is very supportive, extremely supportive of the annual Leadership Summit.
Right. Let's talk about that. What is the Leadership Summit, the annual, now 10th annual Leadership Summit?
Correct. Leadership Summit is an event. It's a conference. It's a convocation whereby people gather at South Barrington, Illinois, to experience leadership training from some of the greatest speakers and presenters and authorities on the subject of leadership that exist. That same event that's going on in South Barrington, just outside of Chicago, is telecast to almost 110 locations in North America, of which our church is one venue. And it's very unique in that you have the complete sense that you're there. Even though it's projected on a 20 by 24 giant screen, you feel like you're right there experiencing it.
You say that, why? I mean, how can it be?
Well, there's two or three reasons. One is that we incorporate local people to help put the satellite event on, where the local people actually participate during the event with song and other ways. We also have, in our particular facility, $1 million sound and lighting system. So we're able to project the sound of what comes out of the summit in a way that's quite unique. It's not just a couple of speakers in a couple of corners of a room.
Right.
And so the experience, sound and lighting wise, is tremendous. And we happen to be a former theater, so the whole idea, the whole experience of being able to witness this event in a theatrical setting, so to speak, in a way that can be projected to its finest, makes it feel like you're right there. And it surprises people.
I bet it does now. But is this the first year at Christ United Methodist Church?
It's the first year, but we partnered with our neighbor church, which is Myrtle Beach Community Church, where it's been held the previous 3 years.
Right.
And we're just kind of taking over and using, putting it on at our church this year.
Sure.
Likely it is that it'll go back to the community church at another time.
Oh, yeah.
And we work together to promote it and to make this a successful event.
And Grant, they're in a former theater as well, so they have the benefit of something similar, albeit different at the same time, but a similar setting.
Very much so. And so we have the benefit of their experience to help us be successful with this event in our place.
Great. How big an event is this, Grant?
The size of the event, when you consider all the satellite locations, started with 2,000 or 3,000 people 10 years ago. One location. It's now one event, 110 locations, about 50,000 people.
50,000? Wow.
50,000 leaders, emerging leaders, students, lay people, business people.
So everyone's welcome.
Everyone's welcome.
How does someone make a decision to say, I'm either an emerging leader, or I'm someone who wants to learn? Why would the leadership be of interest to someone?
To answer that properly, you would start with the entity to whom you're trying to attract. If you're going to a business, if you're going to a church, if you're going to a nonprofit organization like United Way, the leader of that organization has got to see the value of leadership. If he or she sees value of leadership, then he or she will want his team or her team to be part of this. So the people that are attracted to it will be mainly the heads of these companies or heads of these churches, who will then identify in their congregation or in their business, who are these people that have potential? Who are these people that who are on my team that need to hear this same message, so that we're all singing off the same song sheet when we're all done after 2.5 days, so that we can now see a new vision and go forward with a new and exciting set of ideas that we didn't have before we went.
Yes, Grant. Earlier this morning, as I was reviewing the 128leadership.com, the website, it lays out some great frequently asked questions. It's a local website focused really on the Carolinas, on the folks many of whom will be traveling here.
Correct.
Are there some other locations within the Carolinas that folks will be traveling?
There is one in Columbia,
okay,
and there's one in Greenville.
Great, sure. So there's opportunities for folks to travel in other parts of the state, but surely possibly no one could facilitate in a location like this in the Carolinas.
Correct, and the neat thing about it, for the hundreds of people that should be attending this thing, is that it's right in their backyard.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have to travel and engage in that expense. They don't have to worry about hotel rooms. They don't have to worry about the excess of time.
Right.
In fact, I was thinking about it earlier this morning before we got together. I was thinking, the actual summit starts at 10 o'clock in the morning because it comes from the Central Time Zone, where it starts there at 9. So for a lot of us, we could go in and get 2 or 3 hours of work done in our office before we ever showed up for the meeting, for the conference, and still be able to experience the value of the conference for those 2.5 days.
That's a critical thing to point out. If someone's at 128leadership.com and looking at the schedule of events, and they see on the 11th it starts at 9 to 10:30, the first person, it's really 10 to...
I believe we changed the times to reflect Eastern time on the site, so there wouldn't be confusion.
Well, that's great. Well, I'll tell you what, I printed off this morning. It has that.
What does it say? Does it say?
Session 1, 9 to 10:30, the leader's state of mind. Bill
then that is Eastern. That is Central
That's
time.
right.
Yeah.
So that aspect, a great thing for folks to take the time to learn, just visiting the site. And why did y'all build a separate site? I mean, there's a big leadership site.
Well, there is of course, the sponsor of this event, which is the Willow Creek Association, which we may get into in a few minutes.
Please.
They have a monstrous site of their own.
Oh, yeah.
That promotes all of the different resources that they offer, including numerous other conferences. And so as not to get confused and not to blur the message of the Leadership Summit, we decided to basically take off of the Willow Creek site the items that pertain specifically to the summit. And so when you go to 128leadership.com, it's only about the summit.
Right. If a viewer doesn't have access to the internet, is there a phone number they could call?
They can call locally to 236-6201, which is at Christ United Methodist Church, where we can give them all the information they need. They can also go to an 800 number, which goes straight to Willow Creek, which is where all the registration takes place. And that number is 800-570-9812. And they can register directly either online at 128 Leadership, or they can do it directly through an 800 number.
Sure. For our viewers in the PD in southeastern North Carolina, probably the closest location for them to come be right down here to the beach for some of the folks who want to make it a weekend.
Yes.
And there are, at the 128leadership.com, some great hotels and otherwise close by that would enable them to pop right over and be there for the 2.5-day summit. So for them to call, is the 236 number the best one to call? The
Probably
6201? Okay. 843-236-6201. Can they ask for you?
They can ask for me.
Okay, great. I think I saw at the website there's also a couple other good local contacts.
Yes, and it's mentioned right on the 128 Leadership site.
Great. What is Willow Creek Community Church? How did it get started? And
it's a fascinating story. Willow Creek Church started about 30 years ago with a youth pastor who spent several years working with youth, and he had a vision of wanting to start a new congregation, a non-denominational community church. And so he found an empty movie house called Willow Creek, and they moved into that, and it grew and grew, and so they finally bought some property about 35 miles northwest of Chicago and built a campus, and now it's got 3 or 4 sanctuaries, and the largest of which opened a year ago and seats, I believe, 7,200 people.
Wow.
And state-of-the-art everything. But anyway, as this church grew, the leader, Bill Hybels, saw the value of leadership and the value of the local church. And in fact, his motto is the local church is the hope of the world. But the thing about it is that most churches are not necessarily leadership equipped. A lot of the pastors are very pastoral. They worry about things to do with keeping their congregation, keeping the members happy, providing teaching and preaching, but not necessarily being a leader. So Bill Hybels saw the value of engaging pastors of churches and of other organizations into learning more about leadership, so that they could be more effective in their communities, so that they could grow, so that they could do what we've been taught in the Christian world, and that is to share the gospel with everybody. And if we're going to do that, we have to be equipped, taught, and led. And so the WCA, or Willow Creek Association was founded about 10 years ago with the Leadership Summit. And the Willow Creek Association basically is an entity that provides resources for tens of thousands of churches and other organizations to learn how to be better leaders, to have a better children's ministry program, to learn how to build a volunteer base and be effective with a volunteer base, and numerous other subjects. They offer conferences, they offer all kinds of written resource materials, and so it's quite a thing. And we happen to be a member of the WCA for a very small amount of money each year, and from that we derive great resource, one of which is a discounted rate to come to this event.
Right. You know, of course, some of those great aspects you talked about, who is it for, you laid out many of those. You've highlighted some of those right now at 12-8 Leadership. It also highlights husbands and wives, not necessarily team
leaders.
groups or who could all have a leadership component, need to be here.
Exactly.
Need to be here, August 11th through the 13th, 2.5 days. That's critical.
Yep.
Critical. You know, you think about Willow Creek, and of course, the local tie-in. You all are a member of the association. You know, when we think of why is Christ United Methodist Church involved, it is that opportunity to reach in a different way.
Yes, very much so. And we feel called this particular year to provide a reaching out, or an outreach, as we say, to offer this opportunity to the local and nearby community, because it's such a wonderful opportunity for sharpening your leadership skills, for refreshing, for learning how to cast a red-hot vision for the constituency that you serve. Leadership's not easy, and so we all need, if we want to be leaders in our homes, in our communities, in our nonprofit organization, community organizations, and in our church, we need to be constantly fed.
We're talking 2+ weeks. You know, August 11th is coming so fast. Why would business, I mean, you're talking about the business community, church leaders taking Thursday and Friday off. I know, as you pointed out, folks can go into work early, get some things knocked out, but 2 full days. Is this going to be practical experience, stuff they can put into action?
Absolutely. In fact, when our leadership group from our church attended last year, we would take the time during the lunch breaks to actually process the things that we learned in the previous 2 presentations. We would meet at the end of the day for a short time and try to glean from what we'd picked up in the afternoon. How can this apply to our organization, whether it's a business organization or a church organization? And I can just say that there are so many things that you can come away with at the end of this 2.5 days that you can immediately put into practice. How to reduce stress in the workplace as an item. There's several topics that these different speakers will be addressing. A good example would be the mental toughness of a leader. That'll be addressed by Jack Groppel, who is a well-known leader in this community, and another one would be somebody like Blanchard, who wrote the book 1 Minute Manager.
Ken Blanchard, yes.
Ken Blanchard is a renowned leadership expert. John Maxwell, who has written 30 different leadership books, who shares with you bits and pieces of things that you can actually use in your business career or in your home life. And there's just so many different ones. There's one particular speaker who will be addressing us that is quite unique, Curtis Sliwa, who was who's been head of the Guardian Angels since it was formed 25 years ago, protecting communities, and I think it got started on the subways of New York.
That's right.
And he will teach us about how to build the volunteer core of your organization to be more effective. So there's so many things that you can learn in just this short time that you can take back with you and use in your own setting.
2.5 days seems like a long time for some folks, but you're talking, I mean, there's so much that's packed in there. They can expect quite a bit in 2.5 days.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And there's, I believe we have like 12 or 13 speakers, presenters. But it's more than just people talking, standing up in front of a group of people talking. There's also drama, music, and other aspects that will enhance the experience of being there
And Grant, the cost is very reasonable. I hate to even talk about cost oftentimes, but it costs something to put together an event like this.
Obviously. I think for those of us who've attended one-day seminars in Charlotte, as an example, we drive there, we probably stay overnight one night. We pay $150 for a one-day seminar, which seems to be the going rate. For $255, you're getting 2.5 full days. Here locally, not having to travel, not having to spend any extra time or expense.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks are included.
Right.
And there's also all the resource materials will be provided.
Right.
There's a great packet that is presented to you so that you can kind of follow along and make your notes.
Right.
And it's a very well managed and professionally done conference.
We've just got a second. If someone's coming on August 11th, I mean, it's coming up so fast. If someone can't be there the entire 2.5 days, can they come for just part of the summit?
Oh, absolutely. We even have some people that are coming part of the time, and somebody else will take the other parts of the day for them. So even if you could only attend the morning sessions and the Saturday session, it would be more than worth the money spent.
Grant, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Greg, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Enjoyed being with you.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Grant Kuhn coming up next. .com, 128leadership.com. Take the time to write down that address. That's 128leadership.com, but it's not 128. It's Romans 12:8. Paul was very clear there in Romans. If you're given that leadership ability, take responsibility for it. Use it. The Leadership Summit 2005, it's the 10th anniversary. It's a big opportunity. You need to go online or give them a call at 843-236-6201. That's 843-236-6201. Christ United Methodist Church. It's the location this year. Easy to find for our viewers coming in from the PD or southeastern North Carolina. Right down 501 Fantasy Harbor, the former Gatlin Brothers Theater. Take the time, go online, give them a call. It's going to be an amazing event, August 11th through the 13th. You need to be there.